Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another video from my channel 300 Mod. And today I'm going to talk about the new Atari 400 Mini. Now, my dog is kind of getting in the way because his mother's in Japan and he thinks he's starved for attention. So this video might be a little bit challenging. So let's talk about the new Atari 400 Mini. Well, this isn't really the 400 Mini. This is the original 400. The Atari 400. So this is a computer. This was actually the first computer I ever used. I believe I was in 3rd or 4th grade at the time when I played with an Atari 400, and I was just completely mesmerized by it. It was something that was magic to me at the time. You'd push a key on the keyboard and the character would show up on the screen. It was just an amazing thing for the day. And it was the first time I actually stayed after school just so I could type in basic programs and see how they would work and how everything turned out. And that's kind of what grew my interest in computers. The first computer system I wanted, that I begged for, was an Atari. I wanted an Atari. I ended up getting a Commodore 64. And now I'm a huge Commodore fan, but I have a very soft spot for Atari. So I purchased the Atari 2600 Plus. I pre-ordered this one as soon as it was announced. It was something I desperately wanted. This thing looks like an original Atari. It plays the original Atari games. It uses the Atari peripherals, your joysticks and trackballs and stuff like that. Some things are not compatible, but for the most part, it does a pretty good job. What I really like about this system is it's 80% scaled, and it looks just like the original. And I also purchased the Atari Game Station Pro. Now, this is a really weird duck, but I think it's a really cool system. I believe they're going to replace these joysticks and introduce some pads for it, which would be really nice because this is a great little emulator box. It's not so much a great Atari, but it's a great emulator box. So the Game Station Pro was released by a company called My Arcade, who released other systems like these really cute little arcade games. So this is Miss Pac-Man. They have tons of other ones out there. It's basically an NES on a chip, so it's emulating NES games. And what's really kind of cool about these little systems is you can hack them to play additional games. So there's actually like 4 games built into a lot of these systems. Not all of them, but a lot of them have like 4 different games. And by simply cutting some traces or I don't know, there's some little things you can do to modify them. Now, I've never modified mine, but they're out there. So the Atari 400 Mini is made by a company called Retro Games, and they made the Commodore 64 Mini. Now, I held off on this forever. As a matter of fact, I just purchased this system just recently for $44 on Amazon. And I really wanted to kind of play around with this. Now, a couple of things that bother me about this system, which is the same as the Atari 400 Mini, is it's scaled way down. It's really cute, but it's much smaller than original. When you set the joystick next to it, the joysticks are huge, and any kind of pull will move the system around on your desk. Now, I haven't really done anything with this yet. I'm going to play around with this and see what is there to discover on this new system. And the Atari 400 Mini, I expect, will have a lot of really cool things about it. And I also purchased the Amiga 500 Mini. I just purchased this one on Amazon, and I believe this was about $110. Now, this little computer here, again, it's very small, but the Amiga 500 was huge, so this is not as tiny as, say, the Commodore 64 Mini or the Atari 400 Mini. So this is just a little bit bigger. It also comes with a joypad as well as a mouse, which is interesting. And there's some kind of look hacks out there that you can put on Amiga 500 Mini and use it much like an actual real Amiga. Now, my thoughts on the 400 Mini is I actually really like it, but there's some things I don't like about it. So starting with the things that I like about the 400 Mini is I like the fact that Retro Games come out with a new system that mimics the old Atari computer systems and actually looks a lot like the original Atari 400. I also like the joystick. Now this is What they did with the joystick is they hid extra keys in the collar that you have down here. So these actually turn into buttons, which is a really slick idea. Now, what I don't like about the 400 Mini is that the keyboard doesn't work. I really wish they would have stuck to what they did with the Atari 2600 Plus and made a more functional computer with it, like what PlayOn did, than what they did with the other mini systems. After all, Retro Games did make a Commodore 64, I think they called it the Maxi, which was full size, that had an actual real keyboard. Now, I didn't purchase that one because I already have Commodore 64s and I didn't see a need to have the Maxi. And they were more expensive as well. So I think that instead of making the Atari 400 Mini, what they should have done was either made a Atari 800 XL Mini, because those keys I wouldn't expect to work because that's going to be a much more expensive keyboard to reproduce. But on the Atari 400, because it used the inexpensive memo type keypad, I think that would have been a perfect computer for, say, an 80% scaled version of the Atari 400 and actually had more of a computer experience with that. Another option would have been, instead of making a 400 Mini, they could have made an Atari 5200 Mini. This would have made for a very interesting system because they could have, remade the joysticks but made them a digital joystick instead of the analog sticks, and then packaged a bunch of the Atari games with it, and then still give you the ability to sideload Atari 800 XL games, because essentially the Atari 5200 is nothing more than an Atari 400 computer without a keyboard. So those are kind of my thoughts on the new Atari 400 Mini. I personally will probably purchase one, but I'm not going to be the first one to buy one. I think I'm going to wait a little while, let prices settle a little bit, and then I'll probably buy one. I don't expect that the Atari 400 Mini is going to be a system that's just becomes completely unavailable as soon as it comes out. So we'll see if I'm wrong, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon in a new one. Take care. Goodbye.